Hi there and welcome to my second show here on FPL Focus. I'm Livesy Loves It, and tonight we are going to focus on top tips, mistakes and a brand new strategy at the end of the show which I think I'm going to be adopting. Let's get into it. So I'm going to start with my mistakes I made last season, so hopefully I don't make them again this season and you might not make them either. I'm sure there's more than these, and I'm sure my mini league will let me know if that's the case. Cheers. First one, goalkeeper transfer. I bought in Nick Pope, I sold for Matt Ryan, I bought in Fabianski, and I went back to Nick Pope. What a waste of transfers, what a waste of time. We only ended up with 170 points at the end for the top goal scoring goalkeeper. And I had him at the beginning and sold him and then brought him back in. Set and forget, I think, this season. Second mistake I made was selling and buying players back. I did that with Trent Alexander-Arnold at a very bad time, just before he's got his 24-point haul. I think it was Boxing Day. I sold him because he was going to the World Club Championship, and I thought I'd bring in a premium defender to replace him, thinking he might have a rest after the World Club Championship as well. I'm not going to be selling any players that I intend to buy back in a few weeks this season whatsoever. Likewise, I'm not going to be forcing players out. I think I did that quite a lot to accommodate some of my transfers and players that I just could not have in my team. I'd move other players around, sell people out because I needed that one player. I think that's not a good way to go and not what I'll be doing this season. And neither will I be looking at ownership too much. I won't be looking to see if they're owned way too much and maybe I shouldn't have them, or if they're too low owned and I should get them as a differential. I'll be looking at the players that I think are the best players to have. Another thing I did last season is I pretty much maxed out my bank whenever I could, whatever opportunity I had. I never really left any money in the bank. I think I was thinking along the lines of the more money I've got playing on the pitch, then the better chance of I've got of scoring points. But sometimes you get an 8.5 player that's not performing as well as a £7 million player, and I need to be a little bit more alert to that. Too many hits. I took way too many hits. All that what I talked about just a few moments ago, forcing players out, looking at ownership too much, template teams and not wanting to be too like everybody else. I took too many hits trying to chase points. Started off well in the season, but then when I started to fall behind, I tried to react to it and just make things happen, and in the end it just didn't work out. I mean, my reactive transfers, that's another thing. I did lots of transfers on a Saturday evening, even before Sunday games were played last season, based on poor performance or great performance on a Saturday. And then I did rue that once or twice. I don't think that's going to be the way forward for me this season, but you never know. Let's see. And Everton bias. I can't be biased around Everton anymore. I'm going to find it really difficult. I know I want James Rodriguez in my team already. I've already got Richarlison in that first draft that I did, and as much as I'm trying to talk myself out of it, I still want him and I still believe he's going to do great, but we'll see. But not just that. I know I don't consider players that are playing against Everton because there's a bit of me that thinks Everton are going to win. So if I supported a team like Tranmere, then that didn't play in the Premier League, then that would be ideal. But I don't support Everton, so that's just the way it is. And hopefully you can help me out with some of that, guys, and just tell me where I'm going wrong. And we'll see if I listen. Who knows? Now, probably the biggest mistake I made all season, but not necessarily a mistake that I think I could avoid and I can be blamed for, was having Mali as my triple captain on the double game week, and he went off injured after about 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it was, and scored me 3 points as my triple captain over a double game week. I don't think that was a mistake I could foresee. I think it was a good choice, but I'm sure some people will say a mistake. Tell me if you think I'm wrong, but tell me why. Lovely. Right, let's move on to the next section. So there's my mistakes. Let's have a look at what we're going to do, or what I'm going to do, and maybe you might do as well, for the rest of this season. So, like I said, I was going to do lots of research, watch lots of videos, read loads of articles, etc., and try and come up with some generic top tips that work for me. I'll share them with you. Maybe they might work for you. Tell me if you think any of them are rubbish. Tell me if you think some of them are great. Tell me if you think there's some that I haven't included. Well, let's get started. So, first one, as you've seen, forward planning. You need to be looking 3 to 6 game weeks ahead to be able to make choices on looking at fixtures, looking at who my players are going to be playing against, and in terms of are they difficult, are they easy, whether a transfer for them's coming out, but also looking for teams that have got good fixtures coming up, even more so, and trying to identify players within their teams that might be good for yours. Now, one of the things I really need to do is not be focused on one plan. I did this a lot when I was trying to force my players in. So say, for example, I wanted to bring in Son, and I didn't have enough money for him. I'd be moving players around, selling other players who were doing okay-ish, ticking over, trying to fit them in, trying to find other okay-ish players. I'm not improving them and just swapping almost like for like. You need to have a few options and be thinking about what you might be doing. So if you're targeting Manchester United in 2 weeks, then you want to be targeting, because they've got a favourable fixture, it's ideal to target a defender, a midfield and a forward. Or maybe even premium and budget, because it might be looking at the players who are doing well or not so well in your team to move those out. Not just the players that you want, but looking to improve the dross that you've got, basically. The deadwood, get rid of it. And patience. I need to be waiting to be doing my transfers until the end of the week, without a doubt. I do mine very quickly. Generally, I've been chasing value, but it hasn't worked for me in the last 2 seasons. I'm trying to use that as a tactic to improve my end of season running. But I think it's had a negative effect overall. So I'm going to try really hard to do that this season. I said that last season, so we shall see. It'll make interesting viewing anyway, I'm sure. Chips. Make sure you plan your chips. If you're new to the game, don't be using your triple captain chip or your free hit chip or your bench boost chip in the first few weeks because you've just seen them on the bottom of the screen and you think, oh, what does that do? Ideally, you need to know where. Generally, not always, every team's different, but generally the blank and double game weeks are the ones that you want to be aiming to use your chips for. We'll talk more about that as they come along, and there is a blank game week in the first week, so we'll talk more about that later this week as I'm setting up my team, and we'll see what we can do as the best strategy moving forward. Right, that takes us on to our next section. So in this next section, I'm going to be looking at making informed decisions and not just making a decision briefly on a whim almost, or one good game. To do that, I'm going to be looking at using a website, and I've subscribed to the Fantasy Football Hub for 1 season. So I'm going to be using their research, their player comparison tools, their Opta stats. Sounds really good and the sort of thing that I really could do with using. I have used a number of free ones. There are different things I use out there. If I continue to use those, then I'll share those with you. But I'm hoping that what I'm accessing on the Fantasy Football Hub will basically negate most of those. If you want to know what those are, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I can do a separate video for those for you once the season's underway, so I don't think I'm going to have time this week. But yeah, that site's going to enable me to look at players and see not just are they getting assists, are they getting goals, but how many shots in the box they've been getting, whether they've been getting lots of touches in the penalty box, what their expected goals might be, and this can be really good if you're looking at a good player. They've got good stats for expected goals. You'd be expecting them to continue getting those. Maybe a player who's not so prolific, who's getting great expected goal stats. Maybe they're not going to be scoring as many, just based on fluffing their lines, basically. But also I'm going to need to be checking out how defence is doing, and I don't just mean defenders like my players, how many clearances they're getting, interceptions, etc., things like that, clean sheets. But looking at the defence that my players are going to be coming up against. So if I've got Aguero playing up front and he's coming up against a Liverpool defence, then I can look at Liverpool and see how they're defending at that time and see whether actually Aguero's good for my team that week or whether he's not the best captain option. So yes, that's what I'm going to be doing. I'm also going to watch a lot more football because I think the stats are one part of it, but the eye test is got to be another, and it's got to be round about 50-50, I think. So I'm going to be watching lots more extended highlights, and no chance I'm going to be able to watch 10 games of football in a week. So I watched the extended highlights, try and make some notes on some of the key players, try and keep a watch list on that, and make some better decisions based on that. Stats can be great, like I say, and they can be a shortcut last minute, but making informed decisions is the best way. And the final part of that for me is I need to be watching press conferences on the Thursday and Friday, and getting any team news, any injuries, anything like that, any ideas of what formations we might be. Have a game of pep roulette, I suppose, and understand what's going on there. Never know. Yeah, so those are the things I think I might be doing this season to help me make informed decisions. Have you got any more? Let me know. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so managing my team. What am I going to be doing this season then? First of all, I'm not going to be aiming for a set team. I do this every season whereby I try and basically get all my pegs in holes all set up, and that's it, team set for the rest of the season. Well, it doesn't work like that. I can tell you that for nothing. Injuries come in, form, fixtures. That's where the forward planning came in that I was talking about before. I think that's going to help me massively this season. Don't avoid players that are in the template team. They're probably doing well. It's quite easy to think, oh, I don't want the same as everybody else. I want to do something different. Hopefully they won't work out. But having differentials for the sake of it is just, well, it's just having it for the sake of it. If you honestly believe and you've done your research and you think that those players are going to do better than the other players, then absolutely go for it, of course. That's what will help you climb the ranks. But just for the sake of it, I think we need to be looking at the players who are going to be getting the most points that week, who we believe are, and that's it. It sounds simple, doesn't it? But it's not. Captain choices is what I'm going to have to really focus on this season. I've had some dodgy ones. It's my nemesis every year. I think I need to be a little bit less risky, and I need to be making sure that I can get a better overall total. So, for example, I would have had far more points captaining just Kevin De Bruyne if I'd have kept him all season. If I'd have just kept him all season and capped him every single game, I would have had more captain points last season than I did trying to get them by moving my captaincy around. I'm not going to do that, but I am going to be a little bit more conservative with my choices. And finally, onto the strategy I think I may well be adopting this season. I've seen this one on Twitter, a guy called Eric Freeman, and I will leave the link in the description below. This is called the lock and swap strategy. I'll cover it briefly. I'll have a look at his tweets and you'll get a better understanding of his processes and what he's thinking of it. But basically, the idea is you have 5 premium players in your team, and that can be 2 defenders, 3 midfielders, 1 defender, 2 midfielders, 2 forwards, 1 defender, 3 midfielders, 1 forward. Basically, it's up to you. But what we're looking to do, I'd say you definitely need one of them as a defender, as a minimum. But what we're looking to do is basically lock those players in. Those are players that you think are going to get you 200 points for the season. And you need to lock them in and not touch them, basically, unless you're doing your wild card, or unless you are, unless there's injuries and you need to change them around. The idea being that you then focus on your other 5 players within your team, your 6 players, your goalkeeper as well, if that's what you want. I won't be. I'm looking for a set and forget when it comes to my goalkeeper. So I'm then looking at my 5 other players, and those 5 players are the ones that I'm looking to change around, because if you've got 5 players in that are getting 200 points, then the likelihood is your other 5 players, if you're to keep them for the whole season, and this is what he's talking about, this Eric, you're going to get maybe 130, 140 points for them if you're lucky. But what we're looking to do is turn those players that are 130, 140 up to 200 points like the other players. And the only way you can really do that is by either getting really lucky with one of them. Probably not going to happen, but if it does, then great. But basically rotating and moving those players in and out based on form and fixtures, and whether they're playing in some really good teams that can help piggyback them in. So you might get a young defender if Brandon Williams is playing for Man United at left back and Luke Shaw's out injured and you know he's going to be playing, then you might gig in on the clean sheets that's being delivered by the rest of the team, for example. Now, the other part of this was to make sure the players you pick. So if you're going to have, say, players in your team that you're going to be moving in and out, you want players that you can move in and out that are in of similar price bracket. So if you've got a 6.5 million player in, for example, say Phil Foden, and you think he's going to be rested, or his fixtures are coming up and not that good, then you want to be bringing in another 6.5 million pound player. But before you decide on the Phil Foden at the beginning, you need to be looking, and this is what I've been reading, this is what I'm going to try and do, we'll see how it goes, but looking and trying to understand how many players are in that pool at 6.5 million. Because if there's only 2 or 3, then I've not got much choice to move around. And having a player in the 6.5 million bracket in my midfield will probably not be a good choice. That's the essence of it. The price tiers are really important for future transfers. And that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing, locking in my team. Maybe not this week. I'm not sure how I'm going to start the season off yet when it comes to like wild cards. I'm still contemplating using my wild card after week 1 or week 4. The other option is holding on to it as long as possible, which is the favourite option. But whether that's going to be a bad option, I'm going to decide probably Friday night, hopefully on a live stream. So that's my strategy. I think going into the season, let me know what you think of it. Do you think it's a good one? Am I wasting my time doing that? Do you have a better strategy? Because if you've got a better one, I'm all ears. I'd be very happy to listen to it, and if it's any good, adopt it. Yeah, that's great, guys. If you've liked my video, and most of you are probably friends and family, then do us a favour, click the thumbs up button. I'm trying to get my channel up off the ground for something to do and enjoy and get it up and going. I really want to do interactive streaming. I don't think I told you much about that in the last video, but that is what I really want to be doing. I want to be doing as the points come in, as I'm making my transfers, whilst towards the end of games, I want to be showing you how I react, which I don't know if it's a good thing. Maybe not if the kids are around. We'll see how it goes. And that's what I'm sort of planning. So please subscribe to my channel, share with any of your friends and your mini leagues. Let's get this channel up and running. Okay, guys, lovely. Hope to see you soon. Over and out.